Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Richard, and today I'd like to ask you a question. Have you ever met someone in their late 70s or even their 80s who still seems full of energy? Someone who carries their own groceries, remembers birthdays without writing them down, enjoys long walks, and still has a genuine excitement for life. Then you've probably wondered, what's their secret? Is it better genetics, more money, expensive vitamins? Or were they simply lucky? Interestingly, the newest research suggests something completely different. After years of studying healthy aging, scientists are discovering that the people who remain independent well into their 80s usually don't rely on miracle supplements or complicated routines. Instead, they consistently practice a handful of surprisingly ordinary habits that quietly protect their muscles, brain, heart, and immune system every single day. And here's what surprised me most. Many of these habits take less than 30 minutes. Some don't cost a penny. Yet together, they may have a remarkable impact on how well we age. One large study following thousands of older adults found that seniors who maintained several healthy daily behaviors were significantly more likely to remain independent, avoid hospitalization, and enjoy a higher quality of life as they grew older. That tells us something very encouraging. Growing older doesn't automatically mean giving up your independence. Your daily choices still matter. Now, before we begin, I want to tell you about habit number 1. It's probably the most overlooked habit on today's list. It isn't exercise. It isn't eating vegetables. It isn't taking vitamins. In fact, many doctors never even discuss it during routine appointments, even though it may play an important role in maintaining memory, confidence, and independence later in life. So I hope you'll stay with me until the end. Before we start, I'd love to hear from you. Please tell me your age and where you're watching from in the comments below. I read as many comments as I can, and I truly enjoy seeing people from all over the world encouraging one another to live healthier, happier lives. Now, let's begin with number 6, a habit that seems almost too simple to matter. Yet many older adults quietly stop doing it without realizing what they're losing. Number 6, they never stop challenging their balance. Most people believe that losing balance is simply part of getting older. But here's something that may surprise you. The healthiest adults in their late 70s and 80s don't just work on staying strong, they work on staying steady. And those are two very different things. Think about how many times during the day your body depends on balance without you even noticing. Stepping out of the shower, walking across the lawn to get the mail, reaching into the top kitchen cabinet, getting up from your favorite chair. Your brain, your eyes, your inner ears, and your muscles are all communicating with one another every second to keep you upright. The remarkable thing is that this communication system can continue improving, even later in life, if you continue to challenge it. One of the biggest misconceptions I hear is, I don't want to move around too much because I'm afraid of falling. That concern is completely understandable, but avoiding movement often creates the very problem you're trying to prevent. When balance isn't challenged, the brain gradually becomes less efficient at coordinating movement. Your leg muscles react more slowly. Your posture changes. Small stumbles become more common. Before long, simple activities begin to feel difficult. Researchers studying healthy aging have consistently found that seniors who include regular balance exercises in their weekly routine are more likely to remain independent and confident in their daily lives. And the best part? These exercises don't require a gym. Many can be done safely at home, standing on one foot while holding onto a sturdy countertop, walking slowly from heel to toe down a hallway, practicing standing up from a chair without using your hands if it's safe for you to do so. Simple movements, powerful results. I remember speaking with a gentleman, we'll call him Michael, who was 79 years old. He told me he had stopped walking around his neighborhood because he no longer trusted his balance. Instead of giving up, he began spending just 10 minutes each morning practicing gentle balance exercises recommended by his healthcare team. A few months later, he wasn't training for a marathon, but he was confidently walking to the local park again. More importantly, he had regained something many people don't realize they lose after a fall scare: confidence. And confidence changes everything. Once you feel confident moving again, you're more likely to stay active. You walk more. You visit friends. You shop for yourself. You stay connected to life. That's one reason balance training has benefits far beyond preventing falls. It helps preserve independence. Dr. Richard's tip. Here's something I encourage many older adults to try. Whenever you're brushing your teeth, Place one hand lightly on the bathroom counter and practice standing on one leg for 10 to 15 seconds. Then switch sides. It only takes a minute or two. Performed consistently, and only if it's safe for you, it can gently challenge your balance and help keep those important coordination pathways active. Small daily habits often produce the biggest changes over time. And speaking of daily habits, the next one is something millions of seniors do every single morning without realizing they're making a mistake. It isn't about what they eat, it's when they eat it, and that timing may be influencing their energy, muscle strength, and even how well they think throughout the day. Number 5, they eat enough protein, not just enough food. Let me ask you something. When you sit down for breakfast, what's usually on your plate? A piece of toast? A bowl of cereal? Maybe just a cup of coffee? If that sounds familiar, you're certainly not alone. As we get older, our appetites often become smaller. We tend to eat lighter meals, skip lunch, or choose foods that are quick and easy to prepare. While there's nothing wrong with enjoying simple meals, many older adults unknowingly begin eating far less protein than their bodies actually need. And that can have consequences you don't notice right away. You see, after the age of 75, your body becomes less efficient at using protein to maintain muscle. Scientists call this anabolic resistance, but there's no need to remember the term. What's important is understanding what it means. Imagine your muscles are like a house that's constantly being repaired. When you're younger, a few building materials are enough to keep everything in good condition. As you age, those same repairs require more materials and a little more effort. If your body doesn't get enough protein, it slowly begins borrowing from your own muscles. Not overnight, not in a week, but little by little. That's why some older adults notice they can no longer carry heavy grocery bags, climb stairs as easily, or get up from a chair without using their hands. Many assume it's simply because they're getting older, but in many cases, muscle loss has been quietly developing for years. Healthy aging isn't just about maintaining your weight, it's about maintaining your strength. Studies have consistently shown that older adults who eat adequate amounts of protein throughout the day tend to preserve more muscle, recover better from illness, and remain physically independent longer than those who don't. The key phrase is throughout the day. Many people eat most of their protein at dinner, while breakfast and lunch contain very little. Your body benefits much more when protein is spread across all 3 main meals. That could mean eggs or Greek yogurt at breakfast, chicken, fish, beans, or cottage cheese at lunch. And another quality source of protein with dinner. It doesn't have to be complicated. It simply needs to become consistent. I recently spoke with a retired school teacher. We'll call her Helen, who was 82 years old. She told me she felt tired almost every afternoon and had begun avoiding stairs because her legs felt weak. She assumed it was simply part of turning 80. After reviewing her eating habits, one thing stood out immediately. Most days she was eating very little protein until dinner. With guidance from her healthcare provider, she began including protein at breakfast and lunch as well. Over the next few months, she noticed something she hadn't expected. She wasn't suddenly running marathons, but climbing stairs became easier. She felt steadier carrying laundry. Her afternoon energy improved, and perhaps most importantly, she felt more confident doing everyday tasks again. Sometimes the smallest changes quietly produce the biggest rewards. Dr. Richard's tip: try looking at each meal and asking yourself one simple question. Where's my protein? If you can't answer that question, consider adding a simple source like eggs, yogurt, cottage cheese, beans, fish, chicken, tofu, or another protein-rich food that fits your dietary needs and any advice you've received from your healthcare provider. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to become a habit, because every meal is another opportunity to help your body maintain the strength that supports your independence. And that brings us to the next habit. It has nothing to do with food or exercise. In fact, many people underestimate it completely. Yet researchers continue to find that this one daily habit may have a powerful influence on memory, mood, and even how long we remain independent as we grow older. Number 4, they protect their sleep. Like it's part of their medicine. Let me ask you another question. How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, I only sleep 4 or 5 hours these days"? That's just what happens when you get older. It's one of the most common beliefs I hear, but it's also one of the biggest misunderstandings about healthy aging. Yes, sleep changes as we grow older. Many adults wake up earlier. Some wake several times during the night. Others find it harder to fall asleep than they did 20 years ago. Those changes can be normal, but poor sleep should never be accepted as something you simply have to live with. Here's why. While you're sleeping, your body isn't resting, it's repairing. Your brain is organizing memories from the day. Your immune system is strengthening itself. Damaged cells begin repairing. Hormones that help maintain muscle and healthy metabolism are released. Even your brain's natural cleaning system becomes far more active during deep sleep, helping remove waste products that build up throughout the day. Think of it like housekeeping. Imagine never cleaning your home for weeks. Eventually, clutter begins to pile up everywhere. Your brain works in a surprisingly similar way. Quality sleep gives it the opportunity to clear away some of the normal waste that accumulates during daily activity. That's one reason researchers continue to find strong links between poor sleep and problems with memory, concentration, mood, and overall health as we age. But here's something encouraging. The healthiest older adults don't necessarily sleep longer. They sleep more consistently. They go to bed at roughly the same time each evening. They wake up at a similar time each morning. That regular routine helps train the body's internal clock. And over time, the body begins preparing itself for sleep naturally. One gentleman I'll call George, who had recently turned 80, told me he hadn't enjoyed a full night's sleep in years. He often stayed up watching television until midnight or later. Some nights he would fall asleep in his recliner before moving to bed. Other nights he would scroll through his phone for an hour because he wasn't tired yet. Instead of focusing on sleeping more, we focused on sleeping smarter. He began turning off the television about an hour before bedtime. He kept the bedroom cool and dark. He stopped checking his phone once he got into bed. Most importantly, he started going to bed at nearly the same time every night. It didn't transform his sleep overnight, but within several weeks he noticed something unexpected. He woke feeling clearer. He had more energy in the morning. He found himself relying less on afternoon naps, and even his wife commented that he seemed more cheerful throughout the day. Sometimes consistency is more powerful than perfection. Dr. Richard's tip 1. Simple habit I often recommend is creating a 30-minute wind-down routine. During that half hour, dim the lights, turn off the television, put your phone away, read a book, listen to calming music, spend a few quiet minutes in prayer, meditation, or slow breathing if that's part of your routine. By repeating the same routine every evening, you're giving your brain a gentle signal that it's time to transition from activity to rest. It may sound simple, but over time, those small signals can make falling asleep much easier. And now, we're moving into the top 3 habits. The next one might surprise you because it has nothing to do with exercise, nutrition, or sleep. In fact, some experts now believe it may be just as important for healthy aging as all 3 combined. Yet millions of older adults unknowingly neglect it every single day. Number 4, they protect their sleep like it's part of their medicine. Let me ask you another question. How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, I only sleep 4 or 5 hours these days. That's just what happens when you get older"? It's one of the most common beliefs I hear, but it's also one of the biggest misunderstandings about healthy aging. Yes, sleep changes as we grow older. Many adults wake up earlier. Some wake several times during the night. Others find it harder to fall asleep than they did 20 years ago. Those changes can be normal, but poor sleep should never be accepted as something you simply have to live with. Here's why. While you're sleeping, your body isn't resting. It's repairing. Your brain is organizing memories from the day. Your immune system is strengthening itself. Damaged cells begin repairing. Hormones that help maintain muscle and healthy metabolism are released. Even your brain's natural cleaning system becomes far more active during deep sleep, helping remove waste products that build up throughout the day. Think of it like housekeeping. Imagine never cleaning your home for weeks. Eventually, clutter begins to pile up everywhere. Your brain works in a surprisingly similar way. Quality sleep gives it the opportunity to clear away some of the normal waste that accumulates during daily activity. That's one reason researchers continue to find strong links between poor sleep and problems with memory, concentration, mood, and overall health as we age. But here's something encouraging. The healthiest older adults don't necessarily sleep longer. They sleep more consistently. They go to bed at roughly the same time each evening. They wake up at a similar time each morning. That regular routine helps train the body's internal clock. And over time, the body begins preparing itself for sleep naturally. One gentleman I'll call George, who had recently turned 80, told me he hadn't enjoyed a full night's sleep in years. He often stayed up watching television until midnight or later. Some nights he would fall asleep in his recliner before moving to bed. Other nights he would scroll through his phone for an hour because he wasn't tired yet. Instead of focusing on sleeping more, we focused on sleeping smarter. He began turning off the television about an hour before bedtime. He kept the bedroom cool and dark. He stopped checking his phone once he got into bed. Most importantly, he started going to bed at nearly the same time every night. It didn't transform his sleep overnight, but within several weeks he noticed something unexpected. He woke feeling clearer. He had more energy in the morning. He found himself relying less on afternoon naps, and even his wife commented that he seemed more cheerful throughout the day. Sometimes consistency is more powerful than perfection. Dr. Richard's tip 1. Simple habit I often recommend is creating a 30-minute wind-down routine. During that half hour, dim the lights, turn off the television, put your phone away, read a book, listen to calming music, spend a few quiet minutes in prayer, meditation, or slow breathing if that's part of your routine. By repeating the same routine every evening, you're giving your brain a gentle signal that it's time to transition from activity to rest. It may sound simple, but over time, those small signals can make falling asleep much easier. And now, we're moving into the top 3 habits. The next one might surprise you because it has nothing to do with exercise, nutrition, or sleep. In fact, some experts now believe it may be just as important for healthy aging as all 3 combined. Yet millions of older adults unknowingly neglect it every single day. Number 3, they never let loneliness become a daily habit. Now this next habit catches almost everyone by surprise. When most people think about healthy aging, they think about eating better, walking more, taking vitamins, keeping their blood pressure under control. Very few people think about conversation. But perhaps they should, because one of the strongest predictors of healthy aging isn't found in your kitchen. It's found in your relationships. As we grow older, life naturally changes. Children move away, friends relocate, some retire from jobs where they once spoke with dozens of people every day. And sadly, many lose a lifelong partner. Without even realizing it, days can begin passing with very little meaningful conversation. At first, it doesn't seem like a problem. A quiet house can even feel peaceful. But when isolation becomes a lifestyle instead of an occasional experience, both the mind and body begin to notice. Researchers have repeatedly found that older adults who maintain strong social connections tend to enjoy better memory, lower rates of depression, healthier blood pressure, and greater independence as they age. Why? Because every meaningful conversation is actually a workout for your brain. Think about what happens during a simple chat with a friend. You're listening carefully, remembering names, recalling stories, choosing words, reading facial expressions, laughing, solving little problems together. Your brain is incredibly active. Now compare that with sitting alone watching television for 6 hours. One activity challenges your brain, the other asks very little of it. That's why meaningful social interaction is far more than entertainment. It's mental exercise. I remember meeting a wonderful lady, we'll call her Evelyn, who had recently celebrated her 81st birthday. After her husband passed away, she gradually stopped attending church, declined invitations from neighbors, and spent most days alone. She told me, "I just didn't feel like going anywhere anymore." A few months later, she noticed she was forgetting appointments, losing interest in hobbies, and feeling tired almost every day. Her medical tests looked reassuring. Nothing dramatic had changed physically. But something important had changed emotionally. With encouragement from her family, she started making one small commitment. Every Tuesday, she attended a local senior community coffee morning. On Thursdays, she volunteered at the public library. On Sundays, she returned to church. Within several months, she wasn't just smiling more. She was thinking more clearly. She had renewed confidence. She looked forward to each week instead of simply getting through it. Sometimes medicine isn't another prescription. Sometimes it's reconnecting with people who remind you that you're still needed, that your stories still matter, that your life still has purpose. And purpose is incredibly powerful. People who have something to look forward to often take better care of themselves. They walk more, they eat better, they keep appointments, they stay mentally engaged. Everything begins working together. Dr. Richard's tip. I want to give you a simple challenge. Reach out to one person today. Call a friend, visit a neighbor, invite someone for coffee, attend a community group, join a walking club, volunteer for an hour. It doesn't have to be a long conversation. It simply needs to be genuine. One meaningful connection today can become a healthy habit that lasts for years. And now we've reached the final two habits. The next one may be the most overlooked of all because it doesn't involve exercise, food, or even social life. Yet it may be one of the biggest reasons some people remain mentally sharp well into their 80s, while others gradually begin losing confidence in their memory. Let's take a closer look. Number 2. They never stop learning something new. If I asked you to think back to something you learned for the very first time in the past year, what would it be? For some people, it's learning how to use a new smartphone. For others, it's trying a new recipe, learning a few words in another language, or finally figuring out how to use video calls to talk with the grandchildren. It may not seem like much, but your brain sees it very differently. One of the biggest myths about aging is that the brain simply stops changing after a certain age. Thankfully, that's not true. While learning may become slower, your brain continues to build and strengthen new connections throughout your life. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, your brain's remarkable ability to adapt, learn, and reorganize itself. Think of your brain like a network of walking trails through a forest. The paths you use every day become smooth and familiar. But when you start exploring a brand new trail, you're creating a new pathway. The more often you travel it, the stronger and clearer it becomes. Your brain works in a surprisingly similar way. That's why the healthiest older adults don't spend every day doing exactly the same thing. They stay curious. They challenge themselves, they keep learning, and no, you don't need to enroll in college or study for difficult exams. Sometimes the smallest challenges produce the biggest rewards. Learning to play a few songs on the piano, trying watercolor painting, growing vegetables you've never planted before, learning photography, joining a local history group. Even mastering a new recipe exercises memory, attention, planning, and problem solving all at once. These activities encourage your brain to stay active instead of relying only on familiar routines. I remember talking with a retired accountant, we'll call him Frank, who was 78 years old. He told me, "Every day feels exactly the same. I don't feel challenged anymore." His daughter had recently given him a digital camera. At first, he wasn't interested. He thought he was too old to learn. But eventually, he decided to give it a try. He spent a few minutes each day learning about lighting, composition, and editing simple photographs. Within months, something unexpected happened. He wasn't just taking better pictures. He was walking more to find interesting places to photograph. He joined a local photography club. He made new friends. And perhaps most importantly, he told me something I'll never forget. "I feel excited again." That's the power of learning. It gives the brain a reason to stay engaged. It reminds us that growing older doesn't mean we've stopped growing. Dr. Richard's tip. Ask yourself one simple question. What have I always wanted to learn? Not what you think you're capable of, what you've always been curious about. Then spend just 20 minutes a day working toward it. 20 minutes, that's all. You don't need to become an expert. You simply need to give your brain something new to explore. Small, consistent challenges are often far more valuable than occasional bursts of motivation. And now, we've arrived at the habit I told you about at the very beginning, the one that many people overlook, the one that ties everything else together. It's not a food, it's not an exercise, it's not a supplement. Yet, it may be the single biggest difference between simply getting older and continuing to truly enjoy life after 75. Let's finish with the habit that I believe every older adult should protect above all else. Number 1, they wake up every morning with a reason to get out of bed. We've talked about balance, protein, sleep, friendships, learning something new. Every one of those habits matters, but after years of working with older adults, I've noticed something that connects them all. The people who seem to thrive well into their late 70s and 80s usually have one thing in common. They have a reason to wake up tomorrow. It doesn't have to be something extraordinary. It doesn't have to change the world. It simply has to matter to them. One of the greatest risks after retirement isn't having too much free time. It's losing a sense of purpose. For decades, many people have lived according to a schedule, going to work, raising children, helping grandchildren, caring for a spouse, supporting their community. Then one day, those responsibilities begin to change. Without realizing it, some people stop making plans. The calendar becomes emptier. The days become quieter. And slowly, life begins to feel smaller. But here's what researchers continue to discover. Older adults who maintain a strong sense of purpose often enjoy better physical health, improved emotional well-being, and greater independence compared with those who feel disconnected from meaningful activities. Purpose doesn't eliminate life's challenges, but it gives you a reason to keep moving through them. Think about someone you know who's in their 80s and still full of life. They're usually busy doing something, looking after a garden, walking the dog every morning, volunteering at church, helping with the grandchildren, building furniture in the garage, teaching others, painting, writing, fishing, cooking Sunday dinner for the family. They aren't simply passing time. They're investing in something that gives each day meaning, and that's incredibly powerful. I remember meeting a gentleman, we'll call him Arthur, who had just celebrated his 84th birthday. When he retired, he enjoyed the first few months. Then he admitted something many people are afraid to say out loud. I didn't know who I was anymore. The routine he'd followed for over 40 years had disappeared almost overnight. His days became repetitive. His energy declined. He rarely left the house. Then his daughter suggested something simple. The local elementary school was looking for volunteers to help children learn to read. Arthur wasn't sure anyone would benefit from his help, but he decided to give it a try. 2 mornings each week, he sat with children who struggled to read aloud. Within months, something remarkable happened. He wasn't just helping those children. He had rediscovered himself. He started getting up earlier. He walked more because he wanted the energy to keep up with the kids. He smiled more. He laughed more. He began making plans again. One day he told me, "Dr. Richard, I think those children helped me more than I helped them. I'll never forget that." Because it perfectly illustrates something medicine is beginning to appreciate more and more. Purpose influences behavior. When you have something meaningful waiting for you tomorrow, you're more likely to take your medications. You're more likely to prepare a healthy meal. You're more likely to go for that morning walk. You're more likely to stay connected with other people. Purpose quietly strengthens nearly every healthy habit we've talked about today. It's the thread that ties them all together. Dr. Richard's final tip. Every evening before you go to bed, ask yourself one question. What am I looking forward to tomorrow? If the answer doesn't come easily, create one. Call a friend, plant a flower, read a chapter of a new book, bake cookies with your grandchildren, volunteer for an hour. Take your camera to a nearby park, learn one new recipe, write down 3 family memories for future generations. Life doesn't stop giving us opportunities simply because we've celebrated another birthday. Sometimes we just need to start looking for them again. As we finish today's video, I want you to remember something. Healthy aging isn't about chasing perfection. It's about practicing small habits consistently. You don't have to change your entire life overnight. Start with one habit, master it, then add another. Those small decisions, repeated day after day, become the foundation of a stronger body, a sharper mind, and a more independent life. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me your age in the comments and answer this question. Which of these 6 habits are you already doing, and which one will you start this week? I read as many comments as I can, and I truly enjoy hearing your stories. You never know, your experience might encourage someone else to make a positive change. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Every week, I share practical, evidence-informed health advice designed specifically for adults over 50, so you can enjoy more healthy years with the people you love. Thank you for spending part of your day with me. I'm Dr. Richard, and until next time, take care of yourself, stay curious, stay active, and remember, growing older is inevitable. Growing stronger is still a choice.